Hi, welcome back. My name is Rah, and thank you for joining me for the 12 steps. If you have been joining me, you've already watched from the get-go, step 1 through step 7. Today we're doing steps 8 and 9, and it is just my experience, strength, and hope. On step 8, it talks about made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And on step 9, it talks about made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Now, if you have been working the 12 steps and you've been working them with a sponsor, then you've already made that list, and that list is in your step 4. Now, in going back to your step 4 and seeing your part, it's now easy for you to see where you have been in the place where it's time for you to give back and now make those amends, to right wrongs that was created by you. Now, the step is not about going up to somebody and saying, I'm sorry for what I did because you did that. That's not making an amends. That's, again, kind of justifying what happened by throwing that person in and saying, had you not done that, then I would not have done that. And so anyways, step 8 is about going back, and not everyone on the list on your 4th step is amends, is an amends needed. Now, I went through my list, and I can tell you that the most important amends on that list for myself was myself, and also my son, and I continue to make a living amends to my son. Now, there are some areas in life where if you were to make an amends, that is just for yourself and your own ego. When you can hurt somebody else or a third party, then it's suggested for you to pause and not to make that amends if you're going to injure somebody else during your process of amends. For myself, I can say that to come and say, I want to make a wrong a right, I didn't really understand it because I still had thought that had they not behaved the way they did, I wouldn't have behaved I did. So it was justifiable anger or justifiable ways of me reacting. And yes, true at that time, but this is about what I can do to make things right. Now, in Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a saying that says, I'm here to make those amends so I don't go back out and drink, which for me, again, I didn't find that to be my path. Mine was, I drove drunk with my son in the car. So one of the amends was to my ex-husband, and calling him up and letting him know that I'm taking responsibility. And now that I'm working on my recovery and my sobriety, how can I make it right? And really wanted to make that amends that I put our son in jeopardy. And for that, I'm making amends. And my ex-husband said, I said, what can I do to make it right? And he said, you already are. So that was an amend that went really nicely. Now, could I have thrown other things into the mix? It wouldn't have served. So that is something that was not meant because I could hurt other people in the process, just so I can say, well, I cleaned up my side. Another amends that I made, like a financial amends, was during the time when I was drinking. I used to go to Albertsons, and this is the time where the DUI was in effect, and I was not working. I wasn't able to drive, and I had enough money to buy myself, prior to my coming into the program, I was on food stamps, and I would go and take money from my mom's purse. So one of the things I had to do was also tell my mom that, Mom, I'd like to make amends. When you weren't looking, I would slip a 20 out of your purse. And she would say, well, I knew that you were doing that. That's why I made a little basket for you, and I'd throw dollar bills in there for you. And I'd let you know that you can go and get that money. I have to sneeze. False. Excuse me. So anyways, So, you know, there was times that my mom knew that I was taking her money, and she would make a little basket for me, and she made it okay for me to go ahead and take from that and not need to steal from her. And I said, how can I repay you back? And I've been making a lot of living amends when it comes to anything of that nature for my family. Now there's friends. There were some on the list where I felt like I did not need to make an amends, and my sponsor went through those with me. And if it was to harm another, and that other could also be myself, then those amends were not made. Now there was an incident. I had said to my sponsor at the time that when I used to go out and party, I used to get in a lot of fights. Like they used to call me combat, and I used to get in fights all the time. And not that I were not looking for it, but it just happened. And I said to my sponsor at the time, God, I've hit a lot of women. I've been in a lot of fist fights, and I don't know who these girls are. I don't know where they are. I don't remember that life is just like, there's a veil. I don't remember, very blackout. And she said, don't worry, the universe has a creative way of making things right. Now, what happened on that note was that during a time I was 9 months sober, and I was asked to go speak, and I said yes. Always say yes to an AA call. And I had said yes, and I asked where was it that I was going to go speak. And it was at an abuse women's shelter. And during that moment, and during the 45 minutes that I was there, and I got to tell my story of my alcoholism and the fights and the pain that I brought other people because of the fact that I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol, I was able to, at that meeting, make amends to about 15 women that were there. And at the end of that, I had the women line up to come up to me and give me a hug and thank me for making that amends, because those women there were also there because they had been abused by their family or by their husband or by their wife or by a stranger. And for them, there was that night, I remember there were so many women that were just crying, and I was one of them, and it was so healing. And again, it was not something that I expected, but it was something that the divine had orchestrated for me to follow through with that amends. And on another note, I think I was saying earlier about Albertsons, I used to go there and I used to pay for my beer, but for the turkey and for the lunch meats for my son, I would just kind of like pretend I was scanning it, and then I would throw it in the bag, and I would be taking that food home without paying for it. Now, a little bit of time went by, and I was at Albertsons, and I didn't know if I should say anything, and I thought, oh, God, I feel so ashamed, and this sucks. And one of the guys walked by. He was like, hey, Rah, how's it going? He's like, oh, no alcohol. I said, hey, I've been sober for a little while now. And I go, I really got to confess something as your manager here. And he said, what's up, Rah? I said, can you get your manager? And I go, it really means a lot to me. And now this is not something I ran by my sponsor, but it was so timely and so divine that I wanted to make that amends. Now I was on my amends step. So he went and got the manager, and the manager said, hey, Rah, good to see you. What's going on? And I said, for a long time, I would come in and I would scan food, or I would scan the beer when I was drinking, but I wouldn't pay for the lunch meats. And I just want to say, how can I repay you back? I don't know how many lunch meats I haven't paid for, or how many bags of chips or, fruit or whatever I've taken without paying for it. How can I make that right? And he said, wow, he's like, the fact that you're even telling me this, he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, thank you for letting me know. He goes, and I'm sorry that you felt that you had to take that, and I understand. He's like, don't worry, you don't have to pay back. The fact that you're telling me this, he's like, wow, that's beautiful. And he gave me a hug, and I was like, oh, thank you. But not every amends is going to be that easy. There's some people that don't want to hear it. They just don't care, and they don't want to make it right. And for them, it's water under the bridge. Let's not talk about it. Let's just move on. and they don't want to be friends again, and they just don't want you back in their life. And that's okay too, because this is not about going back and rehashing just so I can get your friendship back. It is not about that. This is, I've done something here that was very hurtful to you, whether I stole from you or I cheated on you or I, was physical with you. And I was physical with just about all my exes. And not to be proud of it, but, the alcohol really switched in me, and to where I became very volatile, both verbally and spiritually sick and physically. So for me, I had to make really these amends on how can I make this right? So there was some list, that you do immediate, like these are the ones that I want to do now. These are the ones that I will wait. These are the ones that are possibilities. So like 3 columns of my amends. Now I didn't have that many amends to make. I was pretty much a lone wolf, like to keep to myself. But when I did go out, I would get in fights. And like I said, those amends were really tough because a lot of the people I don't even remember. It was all in blackout. But there were other creative ways where I was able to give back and make those amends right. And so this is about cleaning up my side. It's got nothing to do with, I slept with your husband and I think you should know. Now, that's not going to serve. And that's going to create chaos. And that's going to create hurt. And that is not something that needs to come out at the expense of their marriage or their life or anything of that nature. Then that is not an amends that I want to make. That is coming from a space of ego and from another place that is going to cause more harm. And if you're going to cause more harm, you want to run it by your sponsor and just to let them know that, this is really what happened, X, Y, and Z, and you'll be guided in a way of what amends you're to hold off on. Another one of mine was I had an ex-boyfriend who I left. I was going to marry him, and I was in my 20s, and I ended up leaving him, and he was in a wheelchair. He got in a car accident, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get married. I didn't want to stay. My dog was getting sick, so I moved back. And years later, I'm talking over from that time of my 20s, I'm 52 now. I got sober at 45, so in between that time, I had gone out to Florida, and during that time, I had reached out because he had called me every year for my birthday and said, happy birthday. And I said, I'd really like to see you when I'm out there. And he said, okay. And I said, and I'd like to see your mom too. And he's like, oh, my mom would love to see you. So we all got together, and they were so happy to see me, and we were sitting having lunch, and I said to his mom that, since I've been sober and I've been doing a lot of work on myself, and I've realized the things that I've done and the things I did to hurt you and your son by leaving and X, Y, and Z, and what can I do to make it right? And she looked at me and she said, Rah, oh my God, you don't even need to make this amends. She goes, that was so hard on you. If anything, I want to make the amends back to you, and no need to make amends. You're like a daughter to me, and we love you. You'll always be a part of this family. We're so happy that you're sober. You look great. You look amazing. Now let's eat. And I thought, oh my God, there's sometimes you think that, something's really going to go crappy, or that, I've held on to things for so long when it could have just been resolved, and it was resolved. So the only amends for myself that are in place still is the one to myself, and it's continuously make decisions that are for my highest good, and they're not coming from a space of me taking from you or hurting you so I can feel better about myself, or some shady behavior, which I've done in sobriety, that I find other creative ways to give back, like even with, and doing things anonymously too, like stealing food. So how can I give that back? Well, I can feed the homeless. I give food to a guy in the corner. How can I give back money? I'll give it again to a woman and child, or a guy who's sitting with his dog, and I'll go get dog treats, or I'll give money. And that's another way I give back. I give back with my time. I give back with empathy and compassion and understanding and no judgment. So there's so many other ways to give back. And then, if there's people that have died and transitioned and have passed on, you can write a letter. And if there's no gravesite, just sit anywhere in nature, preferably. I like nature, and it's like kind of having that conversation, that release. Now, if you've burnt your 4th step, you are going to go back and you're going to make a list again of your behavior with the people that were on your resentment. How did you behave? You owe an amends there. So you'll be redoing it. So if you haven't done your 4th step and you're watching the 8 and 9 step, don't burn your 4th step yet, because you're going to want to go back to it and take a look at it and have your sponsor take you through it. So there's a willingness on step 8, and it truly is about just correcting your side of the street. And if the other person has something to say, great. There was a time where I made an amends to a friend, and I really thought that that person really owed me an amends, a lot more than I did. And I did not get that amends. And I did not say anything in regards to, hey, what about you? You really fucked me over. I did not say that. What I thought was that, this person is here listening to me make my amends. This has nothing to do, and I'm making it because I really want to make it, not because I have an ulterior motive to where it's like, now it's your turn. Now you make it right. Because then that would not have come from my heart, and it would not have come from a place of, I am really working on cleaning out my life and to be a better person. And I tell you, my biggest challenge is my family. So I have to be very mindful. I have to be very mindful on how I show up for my family, because they can still be a trigger for me. And that also shows me where I'm not being gentle with them and seeing their life, and also where I'm not being gentle with mine. So with that being said, I hope that there's a little bit of understanding about the willingness to make your amends, shall you choose to, and that not all of them are going to be made right when you're on 8, 9. Sometimes it may take a year, 3 years, 10 years, 4 years, 6 months, whatever it's going to take. And sometimes if those people don't want to hear from you at all, then God puts out universe puts out another creative way for you to right a wrong, whether it's financial, whether it's through friendship, whether it's family, whether it's you neglecting your pet and then you end up going to a dog shelter and making it right by volunteering. There's so many ways of doing it. Just be open and be willing, and clean up your side. That's what it's about, right? We're here to clean it up and, God willing, not make more shit in our lives, but we are having a human experience. But it is becoming more mindful. So with all that being said, make sure you talk to your sponsor, make a list, and let me see what else I've got here. This is about cleaning the slate, healthier foundation, and like I said, it was very challenging for me to step out of ego and into love. And today I'm going to use Archangel Michael, just because I find Archangel Michael to be appropriate for the amends list. And I think that's too many that has fallen out. So I'm going to put these back in and just kind of see what comes out. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. Hit like, hit share. If you have any questions, hit me up. Write me an email, send me up on Messenger. And, okay, this is your life's purpose. So I love this card because it's so funny. Throughout my time in sobriety, I thought, that my life had gone in vain, that my life has gone to shit, that I didn't do anything with my life. But here, as I've been working the steps and here doing this, I know that I'm here, that my life's purpose is to be love and to show that you can come from addictions and abuse and alcoholism and really turn your life around and to show others how to do it and to have empathy and compassion for other people that are suffering. And what a great way to give back, because when one person helps one other person and that person will help another person, it's like the energy that we're sending out to the universe is huge, right? You may think you're not making a difference. I may just have one subscriber or one person like the video, but that one person is a chain effect to others, that person may pass on some information that will bring some love and healing to them right then and there. So purpose, I believe, is service, and it is in giving service with love, openness, compassion and empathy. And I'll go straight to this, and it says, Archangel Michael has heard your prayers, and he's guiding you in the direction in which you were born to go. You already have ideas about a career that would bring you joy, excitement, opportunities to help, and financial security. And these thoughts and indicators of your divine purpose. You're meant to be engaged in work that brings you and others happiness. This card is validation that the career you're dreaming about in your life purpose, as such, the universe will support and open doors for you. Move forward confidently. Your current situation offers clues about the next step to take on your path. Follow your true feelings. Angels are watching over you. And so again, for me, I feel like, the reason why this has come out, and I feel like maybe pull one of these, is that, our life purpose is to help other people, is to clean it up, is to be a new voice in 2020 and the remaining of 2019. We're here to do it differently. We're here to kind of break, like Archangel Michael with his sword, to cut the cords of our ancestral lineage and the way that it was done before, because now it is about love and it is about forgiveness and empathy. And how else are we going to do it if we don't start cleaning it up with one person at a time? And that's all that we can do. And God will open doors. The universe will open doors. And when a door is opened, that's it. When a door is open to your life purpose is being revealed to you. So maybe your life purpose is to sober up. And I think I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe that's it. Life purpose is to change the way you look at the world and yourself and sober up and help another who's suffering. Just saying. Namaste.